Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are the West.
Back in April, the Rangers went looking for a dependable arm to shore up the back of the rotation. What they found in Wandy Rodriguez was the very definition of a crafty lefty. A pitcher without overpowering stuff, but knows how to make the most of his ability, and more importantly, how to win on the road. Tonight, from Camden Yards, Wandy takes the hill against the AL East leading Baltimore Orioles. Next on Fox Sports Southwest. Texas Rangers baseball is presented by AT&T Uber TV. Well, after a couple of nights indoors, the Rangers move down to Baltimore, where it's a gorgeous evening at Oriole Park in Camden Yards. Tonight, the beginning of a 4-game series with the Baltimore Orioles and your Texas Rangers. And welcome in, everyone, along with Tom Greaves, Steve Busby. Glad you could join us as the Rangers get set to take on a very hot Baltimore Oriole club in a 4-game set. And looking to turn things around, the Rangers turning to their veteran, Wandy Rodriguez, while Bud Norris hits the hill for the Orioles.
Yeah, and we talked about Wandy in the pregame show, Buzz. One thing good about the matchup tonight is Wandy has been terrific on the road. He's pitched exceptionally well on the road, not quite as well at home. For the season, though, solid 4-3 with a 4.06 ERA. Bud Norris had a big season for the Orioles last year. He won 15 ball games, off to a slow start this year. He's been hurt a little bit. He's only had 10 starts. His ERA is 6.70. So hopefully the Ranger bats will come alive here in Camden Yards. Wandy Rodriguez will have another good start on the road.
And hopefully the Rangers will be able to get to Bud Norris, who was tough here last year, but not so much this year. So we'll see how that shakes out tonight. We'll come back to Oriole Park and Camden Yards, starting lineup and the first pitch coming up right after this on Fox Sports Southwest. Dealers. Visit your Texas Ford dealer now for great deals on America's best-selling brand. Ford is the best in Texas. By AT&T UVerse TV. UVerse has more live TV channels on the go than cable. By Budweiser. Make a plan to make it home. And by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. Well, a gorgeous night here in Baltimore. Before we get things underway, let's head down to the field and check in with John Radigan.
Yeah, Buzz, when we got on the team bus today, we noticed that the first player on the early bus was Josh Hamilton, so we figured he'd be a player tonight. As it turns out, he got here, did a strenuous workout, was not activated. Will be ready for tomorrow, but there will be limitations.
In certain situations, if a guy leads off with a double and you maybe could catch it if you're running 100%, then, maybe you need to back off and 85 and let him have it for now. Until you get back to where you want to be. So, yeah, I definitely want to be out there, want to be here, want to play every day, but right now that's not the case. But ultimate goal is to be ready to roll after All-Star break.
And Jeff Bannister says that, in fact, Hamilton will be activated tomorrow and is a possibility for center field. Josh says he is more than ready to play center field despite any limitations he might still be feeling on the hamstring. Guys, let's get it back up to you.
All right, John, thanks very much. Well, the Rangers trying to get back into the winning column, and Tom's going to tell you now about the Southwest Airlines Texas Rangers lineup that are trying to get that done.
Rougned Odor moves into the leadoff spot tonight at second base, followed by Shin-Soo Choo, the right fielder. Prince Fielders, the DH. Adrian Beltre bats fourth at third base. Mitch Moreland is at first. Joey Gallo's in left field. Elvis Andrus bats seventh. He's the shortstop. Batting eighth is the center fielder, Leonis Martin. And batting ninth is the catcher, Carlos Corporan.
And that lineup put together by Jeff Bannister for tonight will be facing the 30-year-old right-hander Bud Norris. Norris out of Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, former Houston Astro, and he delivers the first pitch of the night to Rougned Odor. It's high for ball one. Stats on Norris, this is his 11th start of the year, just 2-6 with a rather bloated 670 earned run average. But as the Rangers found out yesterday, don't pay too much attention to a high ERA. And Rougned Odor promptly greets Norris with a solid base hit to right field. Odor with a 3-hit game yesterday starts off tonight right where he left off in Toronto.
Definitely trying to pitch Rugi in. Got maybe the inside half of the plate, probably not as far in as Norris intended it. And Rugi starts the game off nicely for the Rangers with a leadoff single from the leadoff spot.
I think you got a pretty good view from that center field camera on Norris's fastball that when he doesn't get the ball down, it tends to be very straight and very hittable. And Odor took advantage of that. So one on and nobody out. Rangers ran yesterday at will. Had 3 stolen bases. Their most in a few weeks of inactivity on the base paths. Well, they will try and keep that going. Shin-Soo Choo drops down to the number 2 spot tonight and looks at strike one from Norris. Choo at .225 average. 8 home runs, 32 RBI. And if you think that the 8 and 32 are misprints, it's been stuck on that for quite a while. Shin-Soo has been having some significant problems most of the month of June. 1 ball and 1 strike to it. Choo just 1 for his last 17. You go back over the last half of June. He's hit just 122. That's going 6 for 49.
Jeff Bannister had a good line in the press briefing. He was asked about Shin-Soo, who was struggling, and some of the other hitters when they're struggling. He said, I just look at the at-bat where they make an out as it's 1 at-bat closer to them getting hot. And that's kind of the way it is. Big league hitters are streak hitters, and Choo has been streaky this year. He had a terrible streak in April, and then he got hot and stayed hot for quite a while. Unfortunately, he's gone back to kind of the way he was in April, but sooner or later he's going to come out of it, and every out is 1 step closer to getting hot again.
Laid off that high fastball, and that evens the count at 2 balls and 2 strikes.
The age-old problem for a hitter has always been extend your good streaks and limit the bad ones.
Yeah.
pretty good on paper, but it's a lot tougher when you're down in the batter's box saying, okay, I want this slump to end, and I want this nice streak to last longer.
Yeah, that's right.
Still have to make it happen.
Norris, a pretty quick move over to first base. Steve Pearce, the first baseman, trying to slap that tag onto Rougned Odor in a hurry. Time called momentarily. Rougned having a little problem with his headgear. Yeah, well, you're waiting. Also, Buck Showalter wanted to take a look at the replay, and now they're going to go ahead and issue the challenge on that pickoff play at first base. Well, the throw, and Odor kind of got back standing like he wasn't in a huge hurry. But that throw got there in a hurry, and Pearce slapped that tag down, slapped him on his standing up at first pretty quickly, too.
Let's see if they got a better look. I don't think that last one reversed it. I don't think that reverses it.
Now, don't forget now, the call at first is safe.
Right.
And it has to be clear and convincing evidence to overturn it.
It's one of those, if he was called out and we looked for a replay, probably couldn't have overturned that either.
That's right.
So
and the best angle we have of it for you, they'll have another angle. And the tag is applied there. Was his foot down? Can't tell.
I'm saying no, but I guess if I was working for the Orioles, I would say yes. But I'm saying no. Cannot reverse that.
You know, we're about 6 pitches into the ball game tonight, and we have our first review. Well, we'll see if
it's a tough one. I know they're going to take a little while to look at it because it's not simple. Joe Madden said what they should do is get a bunch of nerds and put them up in New York and get rid of the umpires.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to fly, to be quite honest.
How do you pick the nerds? That would have to be volunteer.
I'm not sure.
He must have had a call that he disagreed with pretty strongly to say that.
Well, the Orioles this year, looking at their records, are 6 for 13 in appeals. A little bit less than 50%.
I agree with what you said about the throw, Buzz. I think it surprised Rougned how quickly that ball got over there and how quickly the tag was applied. I don't think he thought that was going to be a close play as he was going back to first base. Otherwise, he wouldn't have gone back that way. I'm saying safe. Make the safe sign.
Okay.
Make the safe sign.
Oh, it's out.
I don't believe it.
They ruled it out. And again, we don't have all the angles that they have in New York to take a look at. And the replay official back there, replay command center in New York, apparently able to sync them up and come up with the clear and convincing evidence to overturn that call at first. So Odor is removed, 1 out.
Well, I was a little worried about the call, but used a little wishful thinking, and it didn't work.
Mentioned now the Orioles are 7 for 14 this year. Meanwhile, the Rangers 7 for 25. And Chu poking one the other way for a base hit.
That's a good sign.
Yep. Being able to do that.
Yeah. When he was hot, you saw balls go to left field a lot. Saw balls occasionally go out of the ballpark to left field. And that's kind of the same thing that Leonis has to do. When you see that fastball down and tailing away, and you're so anxious you try to pull it, more often than not, it's a ground ball to the right side. And boy, we've seen a lot of those from Martin, and too many of them from Shin Su.
And not a lot of them from this guy.
No, Prince has been going foul line to foul line all season long. The perfect guy to look at when you're trying to pull the ball too much. Just watch what the big guys do. I mean, if anybody you would think is trying to pull the ball out of the ballpark, it would be him. But he's been a model of consistency using the whole field.
Well, Fielder with those numbers now back on top of the American League with a .351 average. Team leader with a dozen home runs, 48 driven in. He is out in front of the count to Bud Norris. At 2 balls and no strikes. You saw the numbers that he has against Norris. A significant number of at-bats for Prince Fielder coming into play tonight. Fielder with 23 at-bats. That's the most for anybody in the Rangers lineup against Bud Norris. 2-0 pitch. Hit well to left field. Slicing down the line in the corner. And foul back into the seats. Well, Prince again trying to take that outside pitch the other way, and was able to do that 3 or 4 times in Toronto. Now, he's had 5 consecutive multiple hit games. 2 hits in each of those 5 ball games. That ties his career high. He's done that 1 other time this year. The 2-1 pitch. And the slider or cutter coming in the back door. It's 2-2. And up there at the top of the strike zone. Now Norris peering in for the sign, has one. And Fielder, fly ball to right center field. Moving over Adam Jones in front of Delman Young. And that is out number 2. No two-way. Adrian Beltre coming up. We'll take a look at the rest of the Orioles defense for you tonight. Well, you saw Adam Jones in center. Nolan Reimold is in left and Delman Young in right. Steve Pearce at first. Flaherty and Hardy up the middle. Machado at third. And Caleb Joseph is catching this evening for Buck Showalter's club. The Orioles coming into play tonight in a virtual tie for first. They are actually percentage points in front of the Tampa Bay Rays. 41-34. The Orioles, they've won 4 straight, including a doubleheader here yesterday against the Cleveland Indians. Adrian Beltre takes a breaking ball for strike 1. Rangers come in at an even 38-38. They are now 3rd in the AL West, 5 games behind Houston, and a game back of the Los Angeles Angels. 1 ball, 1 strike to Adrian. Beltre at .248. 6 home runs, 20 RBI. Career against the Orioles, 22 home runs and 60 runs driven in 92 games for Adrian. Another breaking ball, Chu, and the delayed steal is second. He is out.
Boy, what a throw and what a tag on the run.
Flaherty doing a great job of getting to the bag just in time to take that throw, and Jeff Banish says, okay, now hold on here a second. Flaherty, the throw down, getting the throw down there, and just did get the tag down, it appeared, on Chu's leg. So Caleb Joseph making the throw to nobody in particular, just to the bag. And Flaherty making that tag, and Jeff Bannister said, nope, that's okay. We will not try and tempt fates again. No runs, 2 hits, 1 left. And after a half inning of play, we are scoreless in Baltimore. Tom's going to tell you about the Orioles lineup tonight.
Orioles lead off with Manny Machado, the third baseman. Nolan Reimold gets the start in left field. Adam Jones is a center fielder. Former Ranger Chris Davis is the DH batting fourth. Delman Young is in right field. J.J. Hardy, the shortstop, is batting sixth. Steve Pearce is at first base. Ryan Flaherty is at second base, and batting ninth is the catcher, Caleb Joseph.
No, Manny Machado starting things off, and Wandy Rodriguez drops in fastball, then a curveball. Our progressive scouting report, Wandy needs to have the command of both the cutter and the curveball against this hot-hitting Baltimore team. That is something that eluded him last time out against the Oakland A's. And he needs to keep the ball in the ballpark. And this ballpark, not that easy an assignment on a night, especially like this. Machado fouling it back, still a ball and 2 strikes. The breeze is drifting out towards center field, coming out of the southwest, and fairly dry conditions. The flags on the flag pole out there down at field level don't tell you as much as the flags up on top of the scoreboard will tell you. They are whipping out towards center field and at about 15 miles an hour or so. The 2-2 pitch, Machado in the air to shallow right field. Shin-Soo Choo makes the grab. That is out number 1. Machado, one of the hotter Oriole hitters, retired to start things off. And let's take a look at the Rangers defense tonight. It's delivered to you by Chicken Express. We saw Choo in right field. He is joined by Martin in center. Gallo is in left tonight. Moreland at first, Odor and Andrews up the middle. Beltre at third. And Carlos Corporan, as always, handling Wandy Rodriguez as his battery mate tonight. Nolan Reimold going after the next pitch from Wandy Rodriguez. 1 ball and 1 strike. Reimold at 281. Couple of home runs, 5 driven in. Originally a member of the Orioles and went away to a couple of different clubs last year on waiver deals. Came back to Baltimore on a minor league contract, and the Orioles brought him up about 10 days ago. Being a right-handed hitter, he's one of the Orioles that's in the lineup against the left-hander, Wandy Rodriguez. The 2-1 pitch. That is out of play on the first base side. Orioles, as we mentioned, winners of 4 straight and 7 of their last 10. And they have played well in this ballpark. They are 25-13 at home. Wandy Rodriguez dealing to Buck Showalter's club. Buck in his 6th year as a manager here in Baltimore. Payoff pitch. Grounded to Beltre to the backhand. 2 gone. Next will be Adam Jones. Adam Jones batting at 293. He has 10 home runs, 36 RBI. Just a couple of games had a sore right shoulder. Well, he hurt it diving for a ball and just kept aggravating it, so he sat out a couple of days and was antsy to get back in. I mean, Orioles are a much better team with him in the lineup. Any team would be, I guess. Takes that big hook from Wandy that hangs outside. 1 ball and 1 strike. Last 4 games, seeing Jones being bothered by that shoulder. Having a little trouble getting untracked. 1-2 now. Well, Jones, like many of the Orioles, very few at-bats against Wandy Rodriguez. Jones had just 1 other at-bat. Wandy's only faced the Orioles twice in his career. It's fouled out of play. Last time was when he was a member of the Pittsburgh Pirates a year ago. He faced them in Pittsburgh, only lasted an inning and 2/3. Gave up 6 runs and 7 hits in that outing. That's in the dirt. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Jones is an amazing hitter. He's a career 280 hitter. And in the last 2 years, he's walked a total of 44 times in about 1,400 plate appearances. Which means he obviously expands the strike zone. It's not a secret that he doesn't walk very much. So you have to make the assumption that for 162 games, pitchers go out of their way not to throw him strikes. And he's still a 280 hitter. Walked 19 times last year in 159 games.
Payoff pitch. High in the air to center field. Jogging in now, settling underneath it. Leonis Martin, and it's a 1-2-3 inning for Wandy Rodriguez. Orioles sent down an order. We have finished one in Baltimore, no score. Park. Fans attending the interleague matchup with the San Diego Padres on Friday, July 10th will be treated to a post-game fireworks show. You can get discounted upper reserve tickets for the July 10th outing using the online coupon code FIREWORKS at TexasRangers.com/specials. Adrian Beltre swinging at the first pitch, pops it up. First baseman Steve Pearce calling off Bud Norris, who was calling for the ball himself, but then thought better of it. And Pearce makes a grab for out number one. No, one pitch, one away here in the second inning. And Mitch Moreland now will come up.
Occasionally you might see a pitcher catch a little short pop up in front of him, but it would be extremely rare for a pitcher to ever catch a ball like that.
Well, and you can kind of understand why when Norris was calling for the ball and Pearce was about 20 feet behind him to make the catch. I don't think he called for the ball when he was going to be that far away from him. Maybe Norris was just playing.
Yeah, doing an Adrian Beltre.
Yeah, exactly. Mitch, a .298 average, 10 home runs, 36 driven in, 1 for 4 in his career against Bud Norris. Now time called. Mitch took an 0 for 5 yesterday, but that only put a little bump in his road of late. He has been swinging the bat extremely well and consistently well over a pretty lengthy stretch of time. Go back over the last 21 ball games. He's hit safely in 18 of those. At a .310 mark. Backdoor breaking ball. And it nibbles on the outside corner for a strike, 1-2. Oh, he got close to it.
Yeah, that's a tough pitch right there. Have that called a strike.
And Mitch, after the third pitch is called a strike, he had to go down and foul that off to stay alive.
Once you get to 2 strikes, you don't have much of a choice. Don't dare take one close to that.
John Hirschbeck, the home plate umpire tonight, he's regarded as one of the better ball strike umpires in the game. Probably favors the pitcher a little more than the hitter. Moreland drives one deep to right, down the line and off the top of the wall. Play the cameras young. The throw to second. Moreland is out.
Well, that's a shame. You hit a ball that would have been a home run in every single other ballpark in baseball.
Yeah, I think Jeff Bannister's going to go
might
out.
Be a home run.
Yeah,
I
think so.
It looked like it. I'm not sure what the ground rule is, but it looked like it hit above the sign and above the scoreboard out there.
There's a screen over the in front of the railing back behind the wall. I know that, and I don't know how far it is behind it. But this is hard to see with the sun, the angle the way it is, but it looked like that was, you're right, Tom.
Definitely hit above the sign. Yeah. That'd be something. The first 5 hitters of the game, you have 3 hits, a pickoff, a caught stealing, and a thrown out going from a first to second.
Here's another shot at it. Yeah, that ball hits the screen back there. The screen in front of that, right between the railing and the ground, that is beyond the wall. So that should be a home run. And this is not a challenge. This is an umpire review of a home run.
That's right. That's right.
So even if the Rangers were not to get the proper call, they would not lose a challenge. This is not a challengeable play. It's an umpire review as far as a home run is concerned.
That ball would have been 20 rows back in our ballpark as hard as Mitch hit that thing.
Yeah. See, there's that screen right between the railing and the ground out there. Get one more angle at it. Pretty tough with the glare off that white wall behind back there.
Definitely goes above the green, though.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're right, and I think the angles that are available to the umpire in charge of reviewing this game in New York will give him a good call, good angle at it. So Mitch would apparently have, and he does, that is home run number 11. It doesn't please the crowd here. But Mitch blowing a line shot home run, his 11th of the year, and the Rangers are on top 1-0.
Delman Young in right field, not known as a classy fielder, but he does have a strong arm. And even though it's not that far out there, only 318 feet, which makes it a shorter throw, he fires a strike into second base. Hanging breaking ball, solid contact by Mitch, and thankfully it was ruled a home run.
Well, Mitch Moreland, home run number 11, RBI number 37. Rangers on top, 1-0. Now Joey Gallo takes inside. 2 balls, no strikes. This ought to be a guy for Joey Gallo, I think, to zero in on. A guy that likes to throw fastballs down. Doesn't have a real slow breaking ball to tempt him with. Joey might be able to tune it up to get it right on Bud Norris. Pretty good fastball there. It's 2-1.
If that's a strike, that's going to be a real tough pitch to hit. Borderline pitch. Nice movement on that pitch.
Joey, a .220 average with 5 home runs. That is fouled out of play to the left. And the count evens now at 2-2. Well, Mitch Moreland, the home run, is 78th hit by the Rangers this year. Moreland now just 1 behind the man to his left for the team leadership. Prince Fielder with a dozen of them. 2-2 pitch. Full count. Well, Gallo with 1 out trying to get aboard here in the second. Elvis Andrus, the Rangers shortstop, will follow. Norris to the line, the payoff pitch. Another foul off to the left. Bud Norris grew up in Northern California. Now lives in the Houston area. Played a number of years for the Astros. Another 3-2. Got him swing. Foul tipped into the glove of Joseph. And that is out number 2, the first strikeout for Bud Norris.
You can see that movement from left to right toward the end. Took it from probably on the outside corner to a little bit off the outside corner. And it keeps that fastball over there to a left-hand hitter. Pretty tough.
2-away. Now here's Elvis. Andrews, his highest average of the year to date, 251. It's even higher than the second day of the season when he was hitting 250. He has done a lot of great work in the last couple of weeks to get that average up to its present height. J.J. Hardy, the steady shortstop, caught across the diamond. That'll do it. But Mitch Moreland, after a review, gets his home run. The Rangers get on the board, a run on a hit. After 1.5, 1-0 Texas. Is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealer. Visit your Texas Ford dealer now for great deals on America's best-selling brand. Ford is the best in Texas. A gorgeous night in downtown Baltimore, the Inner Harbor area. Temperature about 80 degrees at first pitch and a very mild evening. Very low humidity. Maybe about as comfortable as we've been in the last several years here at this time of year.
Perfect.
Great night for baseball.
We've been here a lot when it's rained. We've had some torrential downpours. We've been here a lot when it's felt like a tropical climate. Not many times when it's perfect like this, though.
Now Chris Davis, former Ranger, leading things off. Chris having a big year again. 16 home runs, 45 driven in. Handling DH chores tonight. Davis hitting at 234. Takes inside. A ball and 2 strikes. Chris with the 16 and 45 of the power numbers. That leads the Orioles. He is just ahead of teammate Manny Machado. 2 balls, 2 strikes. 8-game hitting streak for the big guy. 345 over those 8 ball games. The 2-2. 3-2.
I think you'll get Chris to swing at that curveball, but you have to bring it a little closer to the plate. Last two have been so far out of the strike zone they just weren't tempting enough.
Wandy with a payoff pitch. We got Carlos Corporan. Foul tip. Normally that's reserved for Robinson Chirinos.
Well, he said, I'm not going to walk you. Here's my best fastball. Take your best swing. He almost swung and missed at it. He barely got a piece of it.
Shaking his head a little bit, get the cobwebs out of there. Wandy into the wind, another 3-2. Another foul ball. Wandy not far off the mark on each one of those, pretty much in the middle of the plate. Call strike 3.
That's the big league curveball right there.
Chris Davis thought that was outside and started to go to first, and John Hirschbeck said,
That's the one you don't hit. Big, sharp breaking curveball right where he wanted it.
Good look at the tight rotation on that ball.
Yeah, I love that.
Now Delmon Young, first ball swing, pops it up. It's Moreland in pursuit, but that's going to be back about 4 rows out of reach. 0-1 the count to Young. Delmon Young, a .271 hitter, a couple of home runs, 16 driven in. Wandy's 0-1. Now 0-2.
Well, one thing for sure, Buzz, at least through 4 or 5 hitters, he's got a better curveball tonight than he did against the A's back in Arlington.
Yeah, you're right.
That just was one of those off days. He's pitched better on the road than he has at home, but still, I think if he had the same stuff on the road, it wouldn't have been his best stuff last time out either.
Well, he gets Delmon Young, goes upstairs with a fastball, and back-to-back strikeouts here in the second inning. 2 gone.
And when he throws that curveball like he's throwing it today, and then goes with a high fastball, 89 miles an hour looks like 99 miles an hour, and he just threw that one right by Delmon Young.
Well, next up, J.J. Hardy, the shortstop for the Orioles, a .246 hitter, and he takes strike 1. Hardy, 3 home runs, 18 RBI. Hard to find anybody on this Oriole team that hasn't spent a little bit of time on the disabled list this year. But getting guys back in, Hardy one of them. Getting guys back in kind of piecemeal fashion, but Orioles talking about finally getting their A team back on the field now. 1-1 pitch. Good breaking ball. It's 1-2.
I'll say. You can see when you have an excellent curveball like that, even big league hitters can't hit it.
Hardy gets one lining it to left. Gallo's going to hold back and play it on a hop. And aboard, the first base runner of the night for the Orioles, a 2-out single by J.J. Hardy.
Tried to drop that one on the outside corner, but unfortunately it dropped near the middle of the plate. Hardy was able to get a piece of it.
Yeah, if you reverse those 2 curveballs, so the first one he threw to Hardy that he swung and missed was that second one, you got a shot at it. If the first one is hittable, chances are he's not going to hit it. The second one has to be even better.
Yeah.
No, 1 on, 2 out. Steve Pearce, the power hitting first baseman up there. To center field, hit pretty well. Leonis Martin on his horse, he can't get it. It's over his head, it bounces out of the ballpark, and that saves the Rangers a run. A ground rule double that makes J.J. Hardy have to stop at third. And if that ball hits the wall and stays in the ballpark, Hardy probably scores easily from first base on a 2-out double.
Yeah, I think he definitely does. That's a huge break for the Rangers. Yeah, a fastball, he's trying to throw it on the outside corner, catches the middle of the plate. And Pierce had a big year last year for the Orioles. He hit .293 with 21 home runs. He only had 338 at bats. Struggling a little bit this year, only hitting .216, but saw him swinging the bat like that last year.
No, second and third now, 2 outs. Single and a double with 2 away. Ryan Flaherty, the second baseman, chops that pitch foul at home plate. It is 0-1. Flaherty, another one of the Orioles, has spent time on the DL. As a matter of fact, Flaherty has been on the disabled list a couple of times with a groin strain. Back this last time on May 27th, excuse me. Fastball for a strike. He's down on the count now, 0-2. 261 with 3 home runs, 20 driven in. Facing the left-hander, Wandy Rodriguez, who is working from the stretch with runners at second and third and 2 away. Breaking ball hung inside, and fortunately Flaherty fouled it off.
They've gotten away with a few this inning.
Wandy out of the Dominican Republic, 36-year-old. Until this year, he had had all 248 of his major league starts in the National League, all with Houston and the Pirates. This is his first opportunity to pitch for an American League club. Still 0-2. And he popped it up. Shallow center, Elvis backpedaling. Leonis Martin behind him, calls him off and makes the catch. That'll do it. So the back-to-back 2-out hits, no damage. 2 runners stranded. We'll go to the third. It's the Rangers 1 and the Orioles 0. In yards, Rangers leading 1-0 as they come to bat here in the top of the third inning. Leonis Martin to start things off. Will be followed by Carlos Corporan, and then back to the top of the order for Rougned Odor. Bud Norris, who surrendered the 1-out home run to Mitch Moreland for the only run of the game thus far, deals ball 1 to Leonis. Martin hitting at .222. 5 home runs, 23 driven in. One of the Rangers really scuffling of late offensively. Leonis just 1 for his last 21 times to the plate. Bud Norris and Caleb Joseph having a little trouble getting together on the signs. Now the 1-0 pitch. Leonis showing a bunt. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Well, if I'm Bud Norris and I can throw the fastball there all day with the movement that he's got, he just keep throwing it over there, one right after the other.
He must have heard you. No, he got that one on the plate.
Yeah, that was actually a strike. He's got good velocity, 92, 94-ish.
Yeah.
With that kind of movement, 2 or 3 inches outside every time. Good luck. I don't know why he'd throw anything else to a left-hand hitter, really.
You take a little bit off it if you want to, and move it even further.
Even if they hit it, kind of limit to what you can do.
J.J. Hardy behind the back at second, throws out Leonis Martin. That's 1 away. Well, folks, on the 7th day of the 7th month, the Rangers are bringing you $7 upper reserve and upper box tickets. Plus, Papa John's is activating the Rangers 7 special all day long. And you can visit TexasRangers.com and use the online coupon code 777 to get your tickets for the Diamondbacks and Rangers ball game on July 7th. Plus, the first 15,000 fans 14 and over also will get a Rangers Hawaiian t-shirt, courtesy of Fox Sports Southwest. Kind of a double whammy on the 7th. Here's Carlos Corporan, switch hitting catcher for the Rangers, and he flares it out of play to the left. 0-1 the count. Corporan, a 188 average. Couple of home runs, 13 driven in. He's had hits in each of his last 2 ball games. That's that pitch for a strike. 0-2. Ranger bench kind of giving it to John Hirschbeck a bit, but that's a pretty good strike. He's been consistent down there with that call. Norris with the 0-2. Corporan making his 27th start behind the plate tonight. Rangers have gone 13 up and 13 down in the previous 26 starts. He's going to have a play to the left. Carlos, the veteran catcher, and he has been the personal catcher for his former Houston teammate, Wandy Rodriguez. Time called. Norris taking a little longer than Ranger hitters would prefer that he did. Now the 1-2. That ball's hit deep to right field. Young back at the wall. Goodbye. Carlos Corporan getting a pitch on the inner part of the plate. Drives it out of here, and the Rangers lead it 2-0.
Buzz, I think we can solve Bud Norris's problem. He won't listen to us. All you got to do is throw 94-mile-an-hour sinker down and away to the left-hand hitters, and they won't do that. But instead, he's hung a slider to Mitch, got that slider on the inside part of the plate to Carlos, and they've each hit the breaking ball out of the ballpark.
That's that.
That was more of a cutter.
Yeah.
That's more of a cutter, I guess. But
and that, to me, that's a guy outdumbing himself, or outsmarting himself.
I agree.
You know, he has Corporan hitting the ball the other way. The fastball is almost by him. Corporan just flicking the bat out there. He said, "You must be ready for that. I'm going to try to trick him inside."
He might hit this one fair. I better try to throw a breaking ball.
Yeah.
Yeah. At times it can be very simple, and you just make it a little tougher than it should be. But based on the strike zone today, and John Hirschbeck has, as you said, a very consistent strike zone. He just tends to favor the pitcher a little bit. With the sinking, moving fastball that Black has, you don't really have to try to trick anybody. You can know what's coming. There's still not much you can do if it's right on the corner, a few inches outside.
Yeah, Norris has given up now 2 line drive home runs. Left-handed hitters, and Ruben Odor fouling one the other way again. And it's 1 ball, 2 strikes. Well, Odor started things tonight by getting a solid single to right field. And he was promptly picked off first. Ruben now 225 with the average. That was out of play. Let's take a look at our Ford leaderboard tonight. We'll show you the highest averages during the month of June. Ruben Odor right there at the top of things with 395. Manny Machado 5th on that list at 364 for the Orioles. Ruben is coming back up to the Rangers from AAA Round Rock. He's going to get another base hit. He's 2 for 2.
Another breaking ball.
No, 1 on, 1 out. Shin-Soo Choo coming up. But first of all, let's send it back to Rick Renner for a Mazda game break. All right, Rick, thank you. Ruben Odor on with his 2nd base hit of the night. Rangers now with 5 hits against Bud Norris. They lead 2-0. Shin-Soo Choo has one of those 5 hits. That was an opposite field single. Trying to do it again and just swung through it.
The other thing with the breaking ball that Norris throws, it's a fairly hard breaking ball. It's 82, 85 miles an hour. And so even if you're not looking for it and you're looking for a fastball away, you can make a decent adjustment to the speed of it as opposed to a 74 mile an hour curveball or a changeup, something other than the fastball. But his other pitch that he's throwing really is not something that throws the hitter off that much.
The Orioles with a 2-strike count going into an overshift. 3 players on the right side of the infield. This was exactly the same lineup that enabled Choo to ground a single the other way the first time up. And it was on a pitch away. Now Norris, again, if you're going to pitch to the defense, you've got to throw either a breaking ball or something inside, and that's not playing to his strong suit. You set it away, and Choo will probably go that way. Tried to. He swung through it for the strikeout. Now, the way Choo approached that very easily could have been a single the other way. So 2 gone now, and Prince Fielder comes up. Fielder a fly ball to center, his first time. Odor a fairly short lead at first. 1 ball, no strikes. Prince, a 7-game hitting streak, has gone 12 for 25 in those 7 ball games. That's a 480 average. Starting to get back to the power stroke also. That is 300th career home run the other day in Toronto. That was on Friday. During his 7-game hitting streak, he's had 4 of the 12 hits go for extra bases. 2-0 pitch. Up the middle, but that's where Hardy is stationed, the shortstop. Fires to first, that'll do it. Well, the Rangers get on the board again with Carlos Corporan. 3rd home run of the year. They get a run on 2 hits and lead 1 after 2.5. It's the Rangers 2 and the Orioles nothing.
Saw where that Mitch Moreland home run hit, just down to the left of where we're standing out here. I found Oriole fans. These are such good fans. Where'd that ball? Was that a home run?
Yeah, I got to be honest. It was a home run.
How about that? Honesty, where actually did it hit on the screen?
Just to the left down here of the camera, right about mid-range on the gate.
As much as you'd like to say it wasn't a home run.
Yeah, it's the bad guys, but, come on. It's time for the good guys to come back.
It was one. A little investigative work for you guys. Let's get it back to you.
Nice going, John. Very good.
Hey, you found an honest Oriole fan. I think most Oriole fans are honest. They've got good fans.
Yeah, Caleb Joseph popping a single right back through the middle. A leadoff base hit here in the Oriole third inning.
Orioles played that split doubleheader yesterday and had about 86 or 87,000 people come out to the game. Full house the first one and 40 plus the second one.
They were happy out there on Utah Street.
They were. Big Powell selling his barbecue out on Utah Street. Probably didn't have much left by the end of the night. That's one John should make. Emily last year in Baltimore went out and talked. I think it was Emily that was here. Maybe it was John. Went out there and talked to Boog.
One on, nobody out, back to the top of the order. Manny Machado. And he shoots one the other way down the right side. That is out of play. 0-1 the count. Machado, a fly ball to right field his first time. 0 for 1 tonight. Hitting at .304 as he faces Wandy Rodriguez. Orioles now with 3 hits this evening. And Machado takes a knee-high strike. 0-2.
And Machado's been red hot over the last 10 games. Getting over 400. A great young player. Got derailed a little bit at the end of his first full season with a serious knee injury at the end of the season. Caused him problems all last year. But he's healthy now and he's raking. Hitting 300. Pretty good leadoff hitter when you're hitting 300 with 15 home runs.
Yeah.
Less than halfway through the year.
And he's gone on strikes as Wandy Rodriguez. That back foot breaking ball to him. And Wandy gets his 3rd strikeout of the night. 1 away.
That's the way to tempt him. If you're going to get him to swing at it, keep it down there.
Well, Machado 0 for 2 as he heads back to the Baltimore dugout. Now Nolan Reimold. Reimold grounded to third. Back in the first. A double play ground ball to Elvis. Odor turns it over. 6-4-3. Thank you very much. And that'll do it. The Orioles, no runs a hit and nobody left thanks to the twin killing. On to the 4th we go. 2-0 Texas. Cup semifinals begin as Alex Morgan and Team USA take on Germany with a trip to the final on the line. Coverage begins tomorrow at 5 p.m. Central, only on your local Fox station and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Now Bud Norris back out to the hill. He will face the Rangers here in the top of the fourth inning. Norris and his Orioles trailing the Rangers 2-0 thanks to a pair of solo home runs. Adrian Beltre starting things off. Beltre a pop out to first, his first time. Showing bunt, and Manny Machado at third was not buying that. Never even took a step toward home. No balls and a strike. And a ground ball headed towards center. It is by J.J. Hardy. And Adrian Beltre with a leadoff base hit.
It's fun watching J.J. Hardy play shortstop. Boy, no one does it better. He's a three-time Gold Glover at shortstop. He won 3 consecutive Gold Gloves. He's steady. He's got great hands, and he's got one of the truest, most accurate, straight over the top throws to first base after he catches it. The only other Oriole to win more Gold Gloves was Mark Belanger. Won 6 straight way back in our day.
And he looks a lot like Mark Belanger playing out there.
He throws like Mark, a little bit bigger than Mark, but he throws like him.
No, 1 on, nobody out. Here's Mitch Moreland, who homered in the second inning. And that's off the end of the bat, foul into the Ranger dugout. 0-1. Mitch now 11 home runs, 37 driven in.
Mark Belanger went to my high school. He was 4 years ahead of me in high school, and they had a great baseball team. They won a state championship. Their Legion team went to the national tournament. There were a lot of good players on it. We didn't even know that he was a great baseball player. He wasn't one of the best hitters on the team, and we couldn't tell a major league defensive player in high school. But what he was he was the best basketball player in New England. He could have gone anywhere to play basketball. We used to try to get to his basketball games during the JV games so we could get a good seat to the games and watch him play. You can imagine how quick he was at shortstop. That's the way he played basketball. He's a great basketball player. Went on to be Don Fear's right-hand man with the Players Association for a long time.
And there's a drive. High and deep to right field. Moreland has touched off another one. Goodbye.
Take a ride on that one.
Well, he hit one into the third deck in Toronto. And now he has gone straight away in center field here in Baltimore. 4-0 Texas, and Moreland has a pair of round trippers.
Boy, that ball had some hang time too. That felt like it never came down. You know, we were talking the other day about watching a home run. If you watch that one all the way, you might have watched it too long. Took so long to get out of his first one. Got out of the ballpark in about 3 seconds. It was a line shot. This one was one of those high, majestic bombs that, I don't know, probably took 7 or 8 seconds to get out of the ballpark. And I'd say he missed his location with that one.
Yeah.
Trying to throw that one down and away, and he threw it right in the middle of the plate. Mitch took a peek at it, but he was running all the way.
Exactly. He dropped his bat. He was headed down at first. We kind of looked at it out of the corner of his eye.
Even that one wouldn't offend you.
No, that wouldn't. Well, I'll tell you what, after you've given up one like that, you really can't be offended by too much.
Yeah, he would have said, hey, you don't want to be offended, don't throw it there next time. What do you want me to do, miss it? Ranger fan get that one? All right.
Very appropriate. That's nice to see out there. Moreland with his 6th multiple home run game. And, Joey Gallo takes inside 2 balls and 2 strikes. The Rangers with 3 home runs tonight. 2 by Moreland, 1 by Carlos Corporan. Joey Gallo might join in the homer party. Gallo struck out his first time, and he's going to make that 2 in a row as he's called that on strikes. 1 out here in the 4th inning. That is strikeout number 3 for Bud Norris.
There's that spot again. That one did catch the bottom of the strike zone. If you throw a pitch there, it will be called a strike today. There's not going to be a pitch in that same area called a ball.
Elvis Andrus, a ground ball to short. His first time. He takes ball one. Elvis now a .250 hitter, and Robinson Chirinos listening to Mitch Moreland. 1 ball, 1 strike on the foul tip. Elvis brings in a modest 3-game hitting streak, but he's had 5 hits in those 3 games. Hit safely in all 3 ball games in Toronto. 3 for 4 yesterday. The 1-1. Now 1-2. Elvis has always enjoyed hitting in this ballpark. He's nearly a .320 hitter here at Camden Yards. 24 ball games. Last 12 ball games, as a matter of fact, he cut it down a little bit. Since 2012, he's hit .340. He spoils that Norris offering. It's out of play to the right. Still a ball and 2 strikes. Rangers now with 80 home runs as a team. They were 5th in the American League with 77 coming into play tonight. Mitch Moreland with a couple of them. Slowly hit toward third, and Machado throws it away, and Elvis is going to be safe at first.
I'd say he's going to lead the league in velocity on that play.
No kidding.
He threw a 90-mile-an-hour fastball at first on the dead run. That would have handcuffed the first baseman even if he could catch it. Talk about throwing a rifle over the first base.
That's going to be ruled an error on Machado. Now, thank goodness that didn't hit anybody.
Okay.
That thing was smoking.
Machado, in his rookie season, won a Rawlings Gold Glove. That's how well he played shortstop. He was, I think, 20 years old in his first full season.
Right. No, 1 on, still just 1 out. Now Leonis Martin, who grounded a short, takes outside for ball 1.
That's one I never could understand. How can you blow a bubble in the middle of a play? Will Clark used to do that.
Yeah.
You know, as he's swinging and coming out of the box to run the play out, he would be blowing a bubble. I don't know if I even remembered I was chewing gum when you were up to the plate taking a swing.
Pitch low and outside, 2 balls, no strikes to Leonis.
Either that or he started to blow that bubble before the ball was hit and just left it there. I'm not sure. It looked like Will used to be blowing the bubble while he was swinging. So not only some guys can't chew gum and walk at the same time.
Right.
He can chew gum, blow a bubble while he's fielding a ball. That's pretty good.
Slowly hit toward short. Hardy has only 1 play. That's the first. Leonis retired into scoring position. Now Elvis Andrus, he's there with 2 outs. Well, folks, on Sunday, July 12th, the first 15,000 fans get a Michael Young bobblehead. That's courtesy of Globe Life. It'll be your last chance to see the Rangers before the All-Star break, so don't wait to get your tickets. Just visit TexasRangers.com or call 972-RANGERS today.
Some happy Ranger fans today. Even the Oriole fan with the Ranger fan was happy as they took their selfie with the baseball. Buzz, have you taken a selfie since the last one we took?
I have not. No,
I haven't either.
I got scared off of it, I think.
I haven't either. After I saw that one, I said, that's all the world needs is that one picture right there.
Now, that cured me, I think. Places that showed up. Well, it showed up on my daughter's Facebook page.
Yeah, me too.
And I said, that's enough. I don't need to add fuel to the fire.
Yeah, that's what we get. Say, all right, one time we'll do it.
Yeah. Now we know why we didn't do it.
At least we know it won't happen again.
Elvis out at second base. A couple of runs across here in the 4th inning. Carlos Corporan. It is a 3rd home run of the year. Last time up, a solo blast. Takes low and outside. 1 ball and 1 strike. Corporan now 3 home runs, 14 driven in, hitting at 196. And Elvis, who reached on an error by Machado. That was only the 35th error committed by the Orioles this year. That is the lowest figure in the American League. They came in percentage-wise second lowest in the league.
Well, they've got a Gold Glove third baseman, a Gold Glove shortstop. I think Adam Jones in center field has won a Rawlings Gold Glove before. So they've got a pretty good start on the fielding team right there.
No kidding. 1-2 to Corporan. Now 2-2.
For the last few years, they've had those 3 guys plus Nick Markakis out in right field. Markakis was a free agent signed with the Braves, so he's not here anymore. But when Matt Wieters is behind the plate, they've got a solid catcher as well.
And the count now is full. Well, Corporan trying to get aboard and join Elvis Andrus. If he does, it'll take the Rangers back to the top of the order and Rougned Odor.
Which isn't fair to Caleb Joseph. I haven't seen him play enough to know exactly how he is defensively, but he could be every bit as good as Matt Wieters.
Well, we saw him make that throw to get Chu tonight,
that was
which
pretty,
was
nice
pretty
throw.
impressive.
Yeah, I should not limit their catchers to just Matt Wieters.
Payoff pitch. Inside, ball 4. Corporan, who got down on the count earlier, works Norris for the walk. That's the first walk issued by the Oriole right-hander.
Dave Wallace still bouncing around pretty good out of that dugout. He's about our age.
Yeah, he's older than we are.
Is he?
By a year.
Wow, he jumped off the first step of the dugout and ran right out there like he was 35 years old.
Buck might have said something to him. He wanted to get out of that dugout real fast.
Another highly regarded pitching coach.
Yeah.
Been in a number of different organizations, and everywhere he's been, people have spoken of him in glowing terms.
Well, he's kind of bounced back and forth between the field and front office work.
He has.
Very talented baseball man. Well, Bud Norris back on top of the hill now. He's getting ready to throw his 25th pitch of this inning. Rougned Odor has liked what he's seen from Norris so far. He's 2 for 2 with a pair of singles. 1 ball, no strikes. We talk about the work some of these guys have done getting their averages up. How about the work that Rougned has done? He came back up on the 15th of the month from AAA. He was hitting 144 at the big league level. He's now hitting 231.
That's pretty good. They had 3 hits yesterday. I'd like to see him get his 3rd hit right here.
And Elvis at second, Corporan at first. 1 ball, no strikes. There will be no appeal. Yeah, there's an appeal late down to James Hoy at third. Kind of a disinterested no swing. And Bud Norris started off pretty well for him, but last couple of innings been a bit of a struggle pitch-wise. Right-hander reading the signs. Now he's set for the 2-0. 3 balls and no strikes. And Norris, who last time out kind of imploded. He set down 15 of the first 16 hitters that he faced against the Phillies, and then gave up 5 unearned runs in the next inning. And they ended up losing 5-1. The numbers we were talking about from for Rougned. 3-0 pitch. Old friend Tommy Hunter out there in the Oriole bullpen, getting loose. Norris with a 3-1 pitch to Odor. In the air to left field. Back and toward the line a bit, Nolan Reimold. And that will do it. Now the Rangers scored twice more, though, as Mitch Moreland, a 2-run blast with Adrian Beltre aboard after After 3.5, it's now the Rangers 4 and the Orioles nothing. Is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. And by the Mazda 6. J.D. Power has awarded the Mazda 6 highest ranked vehicle appeal among midsize cars. The Inner Harbor here in Baltimore. Rangers leading 4-0. Adam Jones, though, leading off the bottom of the fourth. A deep drive to right center. Shin-Soo Choo back and makes the catch as he bumps into the paddock. Adam Jones gave it a ride, but Choo able to run it down. That is out number one.
Yeah, Adam Jones hit that ball really well. It shows you how well Mitch Moreland hit his home run. And he got a pitch that he liked out over the plate. Took a big swing at it. But Choo is back there. Made a nice play up against the wall.
Well, one gone. Here's Chris Davis. Chris called out on strikes in the second inning. Davis a .233 average now. Wandy back to him and misses with a fastball. There's that 8-game hitting streak that he brings into play tonight. The longest that he's had this year. And he's going to run that into 9 as he lines a single the other way. Well, Chris Davis with the fourth Baltimore hit against Wandy Rodriguez. Ball not quite getting out away from Davis and down the way that Wandy preferred, and Chris Davis took advantage. So 1 on, 1 out. Here's Delman Young. And he lines one to left to base hit. Gallo gets the ball back in. Back-to-back singles. 2 on with 1 out for J.J. Hardy. That kind of approach right there from Delman Young shows you why he's such a good pinch hitter. Comes off the bench swinging, and he did on that at bat too. The first and second, J.J. Hardy had a single to left. Got a curveball that stayed up just enough for him to line it into the left field for the single. So Hardy now a .250 hitter. Wandy reading the sign, sets, and misses outside for ball one. J.J. Hardy missed some time into spring training, put on the disabled list, had a left shoulder strain. Chops one just foul outside the bag.
That's an error on the ball, girl.
Let the ball get by her.
Yeah, she let it sneak right between her legs. We're going to have to show it. Oh.
You always hear about getting that glove down as far as you can and then coming up with it, but didn't get it right down far enough.
That poor girl, she's probably caught 100 in a row this year, and we saw the only one she missed and showed it on air. Sorry about that.
I think she'll get over it.
Yeah.
Slow chopper foul near the bag at third. Adrian right there to glove it, but it is foul. James Hoy, the third base umpire, jawing with Adrian a little bit with good-natured ribbing. No, 2-2 to the shortstop, J.J. Hardy. Corporan, the series of signs. Yeah. Wandy able to pick one out. Breaking ball, called strike three. The back door, and somebody forgot to lock it.
Everything had been down in that at bat until this pitch, and he dropped it right on top of the strike zone on the outside corner. And Hardy just wasn't quite ready for it.
Wandy Rodriguez with his fourth strikeout, and that's a pretty important one right there. It looked like the Orioles were starting to get a little more. Our Kubota Power Stats talking about Wandy Rodriguez. 7 road starts this year. 4-0 with a 2.28 ERA. That's good for 7th in the American League, and a 2.12 opponent's average is 9th in the circuit. Pretty impressive work by the 36-year-old.
We say it almost every time he pitches. What a pickup. The end of spring training, he was available for every team in baseball. He'd been released. Had a pretty good spring, really.
Yeah.
Didn't make a ball club. Rangers signed him, and extremely happy they did.
And Steve Pearce pulling the pitch foul. It's no balls, 2 strikes. Yeah, the Braves had Wandy under contract in spring training, and Wandy went 2-0 with a 3.13 ERA for the Braves in 6 spring appearances. And it really wasn't until the Braves got Trevor Cahill from the Diamondbacks right at the end of spring training that they had to do something with Wandy. They didn't have a spot for him in the rotation.
And I haven't really followed the Braves that closely, so I'm not exactly sure how Trevor Cahill is doing. But if he's pitching as well as Wandy for the Braves, then they did all right. If not, maybe they wish they had Wandy.
Yeah. Well, from what we've seen of Wandy over the years, it hasn't changed much. It's very competitive, and he has the ability to pitch against any kind of team, and for any kind of team for that matter. Corporan going to go out and talk to him.
Rangers are going to face some tough decisions coming up over the next few weeks with players coming off the disabled list. If you look at the position players, Delano DeShields will be ready sometime in the fairly near future. Josh Hamilton evidently is ready right now. Kyle Blanks eventually will be coming back. So that's going to be 3 position players who will be coming back. John Radigan got a lot of information about Josh Hamilton. Then from the pitching side, Matt Harrison's got another rehab start. Then they'll have a decision there. Nephi Felice, his 30-day rehab stint is almost up, and Ross Ollendorf is thrown again. So a lot of players who could figure into the Ranger plans will cause a lot of decisions to be made affecting people on the roster right now.
1-2 pitch hangs outside. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Eric Josephson just talked in my ear and told me that Cahill's been released. He was 0-3 with an ERA over 6.
And don't you know they wish they had Wandy back. Nice going, EJ. Boy, they've always got the information down there, don't they? Got whatever we need. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Pearce. Steve Pearce had a double to deep center his first time. Wandy got one right in on his fist.
It's that little cut fastball that Wandy has been throwing now for the last several years. Really effective. He doesn't use it all that much, but when he needs to get in on a right-hander, you see the effect that it has. Breaking ball down at the shoe tops.
Good try.
Well, the count is full, and with 2 outs now, both Davis and Young will be off and moving. Pierce, the 7th hitter in the Orioles order, to be followed by Ryan Flaherty.
And Pierce had a lot of big hits for the Orioles last year. With 293 with 21 home runs, knocked in almost 50 runs. Only had 38 at bats. Played in the minor leagues for a long time. Been up and down over the years at the big league level with some different teams. Found a home last year in Baltimore, though. With somewhere around 2,500 minor league at bats.
Runners on the move, payoff pitch, close, strike 3. That low fastball, Pierce trying to tell John Hirschbeck it was low, and Hirschbeck was having none of it. So 2 left on a couple of hits for the Orioles. No runs across. We have finished 4 here in Baltimore. It's the Rangers 4, the Orioles nothing.
City along the way. I try to show people the restaurant I go to every time I'm in a city. Here, it's a place that was born in 1886. Actually, Lexington Market started in 1782. 104 years later, Fadley's was born. Fadley's Seafood has by far the best crab cakes I have ever tasted in my life. They've been making them for almost 130 years there. And the secret to these crab cakes, now look at this, isn't a great place. I've shown you this before. I like places where you have to stand up to eat and stuff like that. The secret to these crab cakes, they're called lump crab cakes. Look at that thing. There's almost no breading at all, as you see the strike there. Almost no breading at all. It is almost all crab, and I am telling you, every bite is so delicious. The guy told me, he gave me the tartar sauce. He said, you better be using these for the fries and not for the crab cake. And I didn't use it at all for the crab cake. I used it for the fries. Actually, I threw most of the tartar sauce away. You don't need it for those crab cakes, Buzz and Tom.
Hey, did that guy hire you to do a commercial for him?
Yeah.
Man, I'll tell you, they were great.
Wow.
John, I guess if you can't get a good crab cake here, you're in the wrong business. Huh?
Boy, that's a great point. But I can't eat crab cakes anywhere else but Fadley's now. Those are so good.
Shin-Soo Choo to deep right field. Watching this is Young. Goodbye.
God, he hit that up in Mitch Moreland territory. The two outfielders, they didn't even move. That ball was gone. That ball was gone the second it hit his bat.
That is the 4th Ranger home run of the night. Shin-Soo Choo with his 9th of the year. It's a 5-0 Ranger lead.
Wow. Oh, good night for Shin-Soo. He has a strikeout, but he has a nice hard ground ball single against the shift through shortstop. And he launches this pitch, trying to throw it down and away. It's right down the heart of the plate. That ball, that had the sound you're talking about. That ball got out of here in a hurry.
Yeah, that sets my teeth on edge.
Wow.
Ow.
That's the sound of the night right there. That ball might have been hit as harder than Mitch's.
Got out of there in a hurry. Yeah, Prince Fielder taking a strike. It is 1-1. Well, the Rangers tying their season high with their 4th home run in this ball game. They previously had 4 against the Oakland A's back on April the 9th. That was a game up in Oakland. Prince tonight 0 for 2. He has grounded out and flied to center. Fielder at 348 with the average. Mentioned Prince came in leading the American League again and hitting 351. The pitch to the inside corner. 1-2. Shin-Soo Choo with a bomb. The deepest right center field here. Norris back to the plate. That ball's hit well to left center field, but moving to his left, Nolan Reimer. Out number 1. Well, Fielder 0 for 3 as he makes a U-turn at first, heads back to the Ranger dugout. Next will be Adrian Beltre. Well, Norris, as we mentioned, his 3rd appearance in his career against the Rangers. Even though he'd gone 2-0 against Rangers in his previous matchups, ERA was almost 6. He'd worked 10 2/3 innings, giving up 7 earned runs. Last time he faced the Rangers, a little bit better than a year ago, June 4th of last year. Worked 5 innings, gave up 5 earned runs. That was a 9-5 Oriole win. Beltre singled and scored last time up. 1 out of 2 tonight, hitting at an even 250. It's that breaking ball down the dirt top. 2 balls, no strikes.
Norris had his best year for the Orioles last year. He was 15-8 with a 3.65 ERA. Only gave up 149 hits in 165 innings. Today he's just made too many mistakes, and the Rangers haven't let him get away with many of them. If he's hit the middle of the plate, he's generally hit the middle of their bat.
We talked about in our opening remarks about Norris pitching well in this ballpark last year. And Beltre rifles one to left center field. Adam Jones on the move, able to make the catch for out number 2. Moreland coming up for 3rd time. Last year in this ballpark, which is not a pitcher's ballpark, it is a hitter-friendly ballpark, Norris had a 2.44 ERA in 81 innings of work. That was the lowest ERA by any pitcher in this ballpark with that number of starts. Minimum of 10 games started. This ballpark's been open since 1991. Well, Mitch Moreland 2 for 2 tonight. A line drive home run and a bomb, and he goes the other way and slices it down the left field line, but that's out of play. Well, our AT&T Universe Rewind will take you back. First of all, the line drive blast. It took no time to get out of here. That had to be reviewed to make sure it went out, and reviews confirmed it did. And then the next time up, this thing was scorched. It was launched out into the bleachers in right center field. This time, Mitch grounds out softly to J.J. Hardy, the shortstop. Rangers gone in the 5th, but Shin-Soo Choo leads off with the home run, his 9th of the year. Rangers get a run on a hit. We played half the ball game. Now the Rangers 5, the Orioles nothing. Orioles come to bat here in the bottom of the 5th inning. They're now trailing 5-0. And Ryan Flaherty pops up the first pitch over the Oriole dugout back into the first row for strike one. It'll be Flaherty, Joseph, and Machado to face Wandy Rodriguez. Wandy has allowed 5 hits tonight. But he stranded a couple in the 4th inning and in the 2nd inning. Flaherty, a fly ball to center, his first time to the plate. Wandy's 0-1. Just off the outer edge. Pretty good breaking ball. And that pretty much is what's separating Wandy tonight from the Wandy we saw last time out.
Yep.
Man to that breaking ball.
Much better breaking ball.
And a fastball well spotted that time. 1-2. That is some painting. Painting the corners. Matter of fact, that's a Rembrandt right there. We'll go with that.
Well,
third strike call.
He'd keep looking at them, but they're going to keep being strikes. That one's almost all in the strike zone. No question about that one.
6 strikeouts for Wandy Rodriguez tonight. And the last 3 have been looking. Gallo Joseph singled his first time to the plate. He's down in the count, 0-1.
Wandy threw 40 pitches in the first 2 innings. And so he's got his pitch count in much better shape right now after the 3rd and 4th and start to the 5th.
Change up, 1 ball, 1 strike. Gallo Joseph after that single, a 237 average. Well, there's that big breaking ball. Wandy's changed speeds on that. He's made that about 3 different pitches.
Threw that one slower. Yeah. Drop it on the outside corner, throw it hard down and in.
And leave one up a little bit. And Gallo Joseph is 2 for 2.
Yeah.
Gallo Joseph aboard with a 1-out single back to the top of the order. Before we tell you about Manny Machado, let's send it back to Rick Renner for a Mazda game break. All right, Rick, thank you. That's a good place not to be a pitcher. Machado 0 for 2 tonight. He takes a changeup that floats over for strike one. Machado was fly to right and struck out.
A lot of slow pitches to Machado. A lot of curveballs down. That was a changeup. Obviously, they're looking at Machado as a guy who likes to hit early in the count, likes to hit a fastball.
Yep.
Doesn't walk very much, although he's walking at a little bit higher pace this year than he has before.
A little better this year. A 362 on base percentage. And he hits that low liner into left center field for a base hit. Stopping at second is Joseph. And that is what I'm reminded of when I think of Manny Machado a couple of years ago before his knee injury. Those low line drives, left center, right center.
Yeah, his rookie year when he was 20, he had a good year. 283, 14 home runs, knocked in 71 runs. He also hit 51 doubles. A lot of those low line drives you're talking about, Buzz, found the gaps.
Yeah. Well, Machado now with an 11-game hitting streak with that base hit. So again, the Orioles have a couple of runners aboard with one out. Nolan Reimold, he grounded into a double play last time. He's stepping to the plate. Reimold 0 for 2 tonight. Average currently at 265. Wandy going to see if he can't induce another ground ball at an infielder. 1 ball, no strikes. This is an Oriole team that yesterday shut out the Cleveland Indians in both ends of a doubleheader, 4-0 and 8-0. He trailed the Rangers 5-0 in this ball game in the 5th inning. But the offense that we talked about for the Orioles highlighted yesterday, 12 runs in that doubleheader. Wandy's been able to hold them down here.
Yeah, they're a dangerous team. They put some men on base, and they've got a lot of guys that can leave the yard as well.
Off speed and over for a strike. It is 2-1. It's also a team that has been very good at home of late. They are 10 out of their last 11 games at home. Wandy okays the sign. This is with a breaking ball. 3-1 now. Eyeballing Rodriguez, even though Wandy's been close. A 3-1 count if he's able to reach Adam Jones. Very dangerous number 3 hitter. He is in the on-deck circle. 3-1 pitch. Low ball 4. That loads him up. First walk of the game issued by Wandy Rodriguez. And now they're talking to John Hirschbeck with Corporan getting, Corporan getting in front of him.
Must have said something to him.
Jeff Bannister out there to try and calm things down a little bit. Calm Hirschbeck down, calm Wandy down. Mike Maddox out to do the chores on the mound. Here's that last pitch.
It looked like a pitch that's been called a strike today, and you know, I said if you see that pitch again, it's going to be called a strike every time. Well, I was wrong. That one wasn't called a strike. Borderline pitch.
Yep, sure was. Carlos Corporan helping his pitcher out. Getting right on John Hirschbeck. Okay, calm down. He's right in the heat of competition. And now Hirschbeck out of the mound. See a few smiles. So somebody just said something was pretty funny. But you'll notice that John Hirschbeck is not one of the guys laughing. Well, that conference dude, now there's a little wry smile on Hirschbeck's face. Bases are loaded with 1 out. Adam Jones to the plate. Jones hit a long fly ball to the wall in deepest right center field his last time up. He is 0 for 2 tonight. Wandy will work from the stretch. And the first pitch outside for ball 1. Jones a couple of flyouts tonight, once to center and once to deep right center. Got the bases full of Orioles with 1 out here in the 5th. Base hit to right field. 1 runner's home. The stop sign put up then at 3rd for Reimold. Or for Machado, I should say. And Adam Jones with the RBI single cuts the lead to 5-1 Rangers. Like all good run producers, you put men in scoring position and all of a sudden things change a little bit on the approach. Adam Jones much more under control, willing to take the ball on a line the other way, not looking to lift the ball out of the ballpark. So a run across, still bases loaded, and now you have the tying run coming to the plate in the person of Chris Davis. Davis, 1 out of 2. Had a single to left field last time. Wandy still working from the stretch. And throws a knee-high strike. Spencer Patton loosening in the Ranger bullpen. The 0-1. Nice stop by Carlos Corporan. Wandy on the road this year has allowed 3 or fewer runs in all 7 of his starts prior to tonight. Matter of fact, in 5 of those, he's allowed just 1 run. Davis off balance on that slow curveball.
Can't give him a good fastball to hit. He'll chase that curveball. Might chase a fastball out of the strike zone, but don't give him a good one to hit. There you go.
That breaking ball down and away. A big strikeout. Rodriguez with his 7th punch out. That is a huge second out.
That's a second out. You got a tough guy up next, though, Delman Young. Definitely have to be careful to him.
Especially on the first pitch.
I definitely wouldn't throw him a fastball.
Yeah, he's looking first ball fastball, and he will turn that bat loose in a hurry. But a big strikeout of Davis. Delman Young singled in the first pitch he saw last time up against Wandy. Bases are still full. A run across here in the bottom of the 5th. Rangers leading 5-1. Delman Young, a .273 average. And the fastball up out of the strike zone.
Well, that's another thing.
Yeah.
If he's going to offer it a fastball, just don't make it a strike, and he might go for it anyway. Well, he's trying to throw that thing down and in. It was up and away. All right, I'll take the result, though.
Machado, Reimold, and Jones, 3rd, 2nd, and 1st. Ranger infield around to the left. 1 ball, 1 strike. Jeff Bannister's club has found a way so far to keep the Orioles at bay this evening. A 4-run lead. The tying run at home plate here in the 5th inning. Now Rodriguez ready. The 1-1. 2 balls and a strike. Delman Young veteran right-handed hitter. Fouled that breaking ball, and it's 2-2. Well, he waited very well on that. He was right on it. One of those ones that got the tip of Corporan's thumb in that glove, foul tip.
It's one of those curved balls you say, I'm glad I didn't hang that one.
Yeah. I was trying to shake off the effects of that foul tip. Well, even with that big catcher's glove on there, you get that in the wrong spot, that can really sting. Talking to Carlos, trying to set up the options for the 2-2 pitch. 26 pitches in the inning. And he has seen Manny Machado reach third base, Nolan Reimold at second base. And Adam Jones, after the RBI base hit, is at first. Well, Carlos still standing behind home plate. Not ready to get down in his catcher squat and give out that sign for the 2-2 pitch. Wants to make sure he can catch the ball well enough. He's all right. Now we're set to go. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Right center field, Chu on the move, reaches up, makes the catch. And that will do it. Well, Delwin Young hit it hard, but Chu ran it down. The Orioles are held to a run. On 3 hits, they leave the bases full. And we will head to the 6th inning. Wandy Rodriguez says, yeah, we got him that time. 5-1 Rangers. Jackpot is $1,900 and dinner for 2 at Sonic Drive-In. If a Ranger hits a home run during the inning, Lois Garrett from Decatur, Texas will win $1,900. And if a Ranger hits a grand slam this inning, Lois is going to win $25,000. You can register at any participating Sonic restaurant. Joey Gallo starting things off here for the Rangers in the 6th inning. 5-1. Texas on top. Hits are now even at 8 apiece. And Gallo takes the pitch inside. 2 balls, no strikes. Gallo has struck out both times, and he's faced Bud Norris tonight. But Joey now at 214 with the average. That is outside, 3-0. Well, Gallo out in front of the count, trying to get aboard to start the inning. Elvis Andrus is waiting to be next. 3-0 pitch. The green light is given, and the pitch foul back. Well, got a pitch to handle. Joey in his last 13 ball games now has had 25 strikeouts. Struck out more than half the time. 3-2. Well, the team leaders in home runs. See Houston out in front, New York and Toronto. Baltimore is 4th in the league. Rangers trying to play catch up against those guys. And the Rangers have 4 tonight to sneak up on the top 4. Call strike 3, and Gallo knew it. Joey had the count in his favor and lost that advantage. 1 gone.
The last pitch looked like the best of the three strikes. That was right down the middle.
Like Joey was trying to discipline himself to lay off the high fastball and forgot about the other one.
Yeah, got a good one instead.
Elvis has reached on an error tonight. 0 for 2. 1 ball, no strikes. Elvis a 249 average, 3 home runs, 27 RBI. Norris back to him. That's out of play to the right. Not only does Elvis have a 3-game hitting streak coming into play tonight, he's also hit safely in 5 of his last 6. He had a 417 clip. Norris, that front door cutter that time. 1-2. Sharply hit Machado, though.
Oh, he pulled an Adrian. Threw it flat-footed. Got to tip his hat to the Ranger bench after that throw.
2 gone.
Stopped dead flat-footed and threw it.
Didn't quite get his arm down far enough.
Not quite as much sidearm, but I like the way he did the feet.
Yeah. 2 gone here in the Rangers 6. Leonis Martin twice has grounded out to short against Bud Norris. First pitch to him is line to center field. That is a base hit down the left center as it slices over to Nolan Reimold. So Leonis with his first hit of the night. Had been 1 for his last 23 prior to that base hit. Rangers now with 9 hits in 5 2/3 against Bud Norris. And Carlos Corporan for his 3rd plate appearance. He is 1 for 1 officially with that solo home run back in the 3rd inning. Drew a walk his last time up in the 4th. Norris a letter high set. And a hot shot in the air. Taken out about shoe top high by Ryan Flaherty. That'll do it. No runs a hit, 1 left after 5.5. It's still the Rangers 5, the Orioles 1. talking about pitchers hitting. And if you weren't, we are now. Steven Matz of the New York Mets. How about a major league debut? He went 3 for 3. He won the ball game, 7 2/3 innings of work, just 2 earned runs. But he drove in 4 runs in his major league debut. The first pitcher in major league history to have 4 RBI in his major league debut and get the W. Talk about helping yourself.
One of those balls was a line shot off Billy Hamilton's head in center field. He had a line drive to right field. They had great stuff, too. Best part was watching his grandfather, though. He had about 100 people at the game from nearby. And his grandfather was into it, boy. We caught him saying something. You could read his lips what he was saying. I can't repeat it, but it was pretty funny.
J.J. Hardy, as they appeal down to first base, and it's a foul ball. Not caught by Carlos Corporan. And now, Jeff Bannister coming out.
I think he said the first base umpire.
Yeah, he did.
Gave him help.
Bill Welke was asked, and he told John Hirschbeck the ball was foul tip into the ground. Here's Bill down at first base.
Definitely in the dirt.
Yeah. That's a pitch you almost have to hear hit the bat, at least from our angles, to be able to figure out it was a foul tip. No, it's still 0-2 to J.J. Hardy. Hardy has singled and struck out tonight, 1 out of 2. And the breaking ball up and chopped it foul. Wandy at 97 pitches as he works here in the 6th inning. Nobody on and nobody out. One ball, 2 strikes. Look at that high gas from Wandy. Straighten Hardy up. Two and 2. Looks like might be starting to labor just a bit. This is his 100th pitch of the night. He misses with a changeup. Well, the count's gone from 0-2 to 3-2. Hardy trying to get aboard to start the Orioles 6th. They'll be followed by Steve Pearce. The wind, the payoff pitch. Inside, ball 4.
Trying to throw a strike right here, but he just missed inside. He's pretty much aiming that from the middle of the plate and said, here it is, hit me.
Yep.
I just wasn't able to throw a strike. I think you're right, Buzz. I think that last inning took a lot out of him.
And Jeff Bannister, I think recognizing that and not wanting to have it go any further for Wandy. He's already gotten the 100 pitch level, and not that that's the be all end all, but it looks like he's scuffling just a bit. So the bullpen is summoned to come in with J.J. Hardy at first. Nobody out. Spencer Patton is warmed and ready. He will be coming in, and while he does, we will take a timeout. We're back to Baltimore right after this timeout. Bly Park for some summer fun. Enjoy ballpark hot dogs for just $1 each. Visit TexasRangers.com, or you can call 972-RANGERS to get your tickets. Well, 1 on, nobody out, and Andy Rodriguez had hit the proverbial wall, at least as far as Jeff Bannister and Mike Maddox were concerned. So Spencer Patton has been summoned from the Ranger bullpen. Spencer now appearing in his 5th ball game. This is his 3rd tour of duty with the Rangers. We saw him work an inning in yesterday's ball game. Had a 1-2-3 7th inning in that ball game. Wandy Rodriguez threw after 5 innings plus 1 hitter here in the 6th. 2 walks, 7 strikeouts, 8 hits allowed. Just 1 earned run on his ledger thus far. And Patton will first base Steve Pearce. Here's the first baseman. He is 1 out of 2 tonight with a double and a strikeout. Pulls that first pitch foul for strike 1. But Pearce, like a lot of these Oriole hitters, very aggressive early in the count. Trying to go up there and get something they can swing at right away. Pearce waiting as Patton sets. 1 ball and 1 strike. On his line, 5 innings of work, 8 hits, 1 run. The runner at first, J.J. Hardy, his responsibility also. 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. 1-1 pitch. 2-1. That in the last couple of years has really put up a lot of great numbers closing out ball games at AAA, both for Kansas City and for the Rangers. Trying to get that to translate to the big league level. 2-2.
Fastball count. Hitter dead looking for a fastball. Throws him a slider way out in front of him.
Patton agrees with Carlos Corporan. The 2-2 pitch. Call strike 3. Knee-high fastball, and Pearce not looking. He's talking to John Hirschbeck.
Second time.
That's all you get.
Said, I'm not leaving. I don't accept that. It's like Chucky in Sons of Anarchy. I don't accept that. But the same pitch he got called out on last time. He didn't like that one either.
Nope.
I do not accept that, John. Well, sorry, you're going to have to take it anyway.
Maybe he thought he argued it enough he'd get 1 more pitch. Well, Ryan Flaherty up there now. He takes ball 1. Flaherty 0 for 2. He has skied to shallow center and struck out tonight. One ball and 1 strike. Orioles now have struck out 8 times against 2 Ranger pitchers. Wandy Rodriguez had 7, and Spencer Patton has 1. 2-1 the count. Patton back to the plate. He's fouled back to our left. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Steve Pearce still mowing things over. You can't believe it.
He's going to be having a hard time going to sleep tonight seeing those pitches.
Yeah.
But they were strikes all night long.
And just off the outer edge, the count is now full to Flaherty. Hardy at first, 1 out. Flaherty with a full count. Trying to get aboard. Caleb Joseph, the catcher, is next. The payoff pitch from Patton. Hank foul. Spencer Patton, originally with the Kansas City Royals organization. He was their 24th round pick in the 2011 draft. Spencer pitched collegiately at Southern Illinois University at Edwardsville. Another 3-2 pitch. In the air to left field, Gallo toward the line, still moving, and just in fair territory. Joey catches up with it. That is out number 2. Patton won the 8-pitch at bat with Ryan Flaherty. Now 2 gone. Caleb Joseph, who is 2 for 2, steps in. Wandy Rodriguez, an interested spectator now. Saw Nick Martinez right in front of Wandy, and Nick's going to be the starter on Wednesday. Caleb Joseph takes the breaking ball for strike 1. Joseph, a pair of singles to center. He has scored the only Baltimore run. That was in the 5th inning. Good fastball tied him up on the fist. 0-2. Tommy Hunter hanging around in the bullpen just in case. Oh, 2 pitch. Off the end of the bat, a squibber out to Rougned Odor, and that'll do it. Nice job by Spencer Patton. He gets Pierce, Flaherty, and Joseph. Hardy stranded. Will move to the 7th. 5-1 Rangers. Camden Yards, Mitch Moreland got it started in the 2nd inning. After review, credited with his home run. Carlos Corporan, an inning later, went deep. Then it was that man Moreland again. More sound. Almost dead center field and way up there. His 2nd home run of the night. Then Shin-Soo Choo put him one better. He went 2 rows further. It's the 4th Ranger home run of the night. The 2nd time this year they've had as many as 4 home runs in a ball game. They lead 5-1, and now Rougned Odor leading off the 7th inning, facing Tommy Hunter. Hunter in to take over, and the first pitch is grounded to the right side. Rougned is now 2 for 4. Now Hunter appearing now in his 30th ball game. That ERA at 3.38. The opposition hitting .264 against him. Hunter, of course, a former Ranger #1 round draft pick, the 54th overall back in the 2007 draft.
Tommy's only walked 4 batters. Got a good strikeout to walk ratio, 6-1. And still got the big fastball through that pitch to Ruggie. 98 miles an hour.
Shin-Soo Choo takes a 98-mile-an-hour heater at the knees for strike 1. Remember when Tommy was starting, and he started his career with the Rangers as a starter, he would throw 92, 93 occasionally. And the year that the Rangers let him come out of the bullpen, that was back in 2011. All of a sudden he was tuning up 95, 96 on a regular basis. And he didn't really know what to make of it himself. He said, I just throw the ball the same way I tried to as a starter. So I guess because I'm not trying to pace myself, I'm letting it go more often. And he's continued that here in Baltimore.
I remember the game he started, the national game he started against Tampa Bay one afternoon. It was about 100 degrees out, and he went 9 innings. Face was red as a beet at the end of that game, but stayed in the whole game and beat Tampa Bay.
Yeah. Last year with the Orioles, Tommy Hunter appeared in 60 ball games. Went 3-2 with a 297. 2013 was his first full year here in Baltimore that he was with the big club the entire year. He had 68 appearances out of the pen. The shift is on for Choo. He hits one through the shift into right field, a base hit. And Choo has a 3-hit night. He hit it that hard, and the shift doesn't come into play too much.
Oh, good night for Choo. Got a base hit to both sides of the infield and a long home run. Waited on the breaking ball that time. That'd be a perfect time for him to break out of that slump and have a July just like the May that he had.
Well, Choo board, Rangers now in double figures with 10 hits. Keone Keller out of that Ranger bullpen. Looks like we will probably see Keone at the start of the bottom of the 7th inning. First things first, though, Prince Fielder going to face Tommy Hunter. Fielder lined to left field last time. He is 0 for 3. Takes the fastball high for ball 1. 347 now the average for the Ranger DH. Didn't want to do it. The check swing foul evens the count. Fielder still leading the major leagues in multi-hit games, 33 of them. He's also the American League leader in hits with 101. Second in on-base percentage and third in total bases. Hunter's 1-1 pitch. Slapped the other way. That's through the shortstop hole for a base hit. And Prince Fielder extends his hitting streak to 8 straight ball games. Well, folks, you know that extraordinary moments happen every night in baseball, and on one night, however, they all happen in one place. Don't miss the 86th All-Star Game on Tuesday, July 14th, only on Fox. And don't forget to visit TexasRangers.com/vote so you can send Prince Fielder and Adrian Beltre and Mitch Moreland to the 5th Summer Classic. Now, Choo at second, Fielder at first, both aboard via the single. Adrian Beltre now will step to the plate. Beltre a single sandwiched in between a couple of pop-ups. Tommy Hunter with that high set. Adrian letting that bat go as he completed his swing. Notice that Adrian doesn't have that huge wad of tape now between his hands on that bat the way he was taped up for the first few ball games. Still some cushioning around that left thumb. Hits this one high in the air to right field. Young headed toward the corner, and that ball is off the wall. Stopping at third is Chu. The throw comes into the plate, and Beltre, an opposite field single off the scoreboard out there. It loads the bases with one out. It didn't look like Chu got a very good read on Delmon Young going after that ball.
Yeah, if you're able to follow it, what you hope is that you'll see where the ball is going to be. He can't catch it now. Take off. And the ball bounces right straight back to Young, so he gets rid of it quickly. But if you're at second base, it's, you don't really need to tag up with one out because there's going to be two outs anyway. So if you're gone halfway and you see where that ball is and you see the right fielder looking at it, you can take off before that ball hits the wall and maybe have a chance to score. As it was, Young with a strong arm and the ability to catch it on one hop, cut the ball in really quick. I don't think Chu was halfway. It's like he's going back to tag up on that ball. Better off going halfway with one out.
Well, here's Mitch Moreland where the base is full. 1 ball, no strikes the count. And Mitch takes a knee-high strike. Moreland, 2 home runs in his first 2 at-bats. 1 to right, 1 to deepest right center field. 1 career grand slam to his credit. And 1 that got rained out. So you kind of have to mention that. Had a grand slam against Oakland, Gio Gonzalez at Globe Life Park that didn't count because of Mother Nature. Now down in the count to Tommy Hunter, a ball and 2 strikes. Mitch 2 for 3 tonight, hitting at .303. Now with 12 home runs, so he has tied Prince Fielder for the team leadership. And he is down on strikes as Hunter, moving one down and away, gets the punch out. 2 gone.
Boy, this is as nasty a pitch as you'll see. 98 miles an hour. Look at the movement on that thing. You can watch the catcher's glove, how far he has to move his glove from where it started. A 98 mile an hour left-handed slider.
Okay, wiffle ball.
Man.
Oh, 2 outs. And here's Joey Gallo now. Gallo has struck out all 3 times, and he pounds one to right. That is deep down the corner. It is off the wall on a hop. Chu scores. Fielder scores. Beltre coming around. He will score. The throw goes to third. In safely is Gallo with a 3-run triple. And the Rangers lead it 8-1.
Well, if you keep swinging, you have a chance. Joey had struck out the first 3 times up. Tommy Hunter throwing almost all fastballs. Joey knows that, watching the hitters ahead of him. He goes up there. He gets a fastball that comes back with that movement right toward the middle of the plate. And he hits it right down the line. This time Young didn't get to it quite so quickly. Didn't get it back in quite so quickly. Rattles around down there. A little bit of problem getting it in, and all 3 runs scored. Boy, that's picking him up with 2 outs right there. Big hit by Joey.
Well, Joey Gallo with his first career triple. It's a 3-run 3-bagger. And the Rangers open this one up. It is now 8-1 Texas. Gallo over at third, now with 13 RBI. Elvis Andrus 0 for 3 tonight. He reached on an error in the 4th inning. Little number down the third base line is coming back, trying to come back fair. And Machado gets it in foul territory.
You can see the speed that the big guy has going into third base gracefully.
Gallo home to third on a ball that has 318 feet. Matter of fact, right down that right field line. 1 ball and 1 strike to Elvis. Machado across the diamond, and that will do it. But a big 2-out, 3-run triple by Joey Gallo. Rangers get 3 runs on 4 hits. And we will take the stretch with the Rangers leading 8-1. Concludes the month of June, the first couple of days of July. Then it's back home to take on the Angels over the big 4th of July weekend. Off day Monday before Arizona comes in. San Diego will complete the pre-All-Star game break portion of the schedule with 3 over that last weekend. As we go to the 7th inning, Keone Kela coming out of the Ranger bullpen to take over for Keone, his 36th appearance of the year. Keone, the last couple of times out, has had a bit of a tough go of it, twice against Oakland. And here in an opportunity with an 8-1 lead to get some work in, get his confidence going back in the right direction. Top of the order, Manny Machado goes the other way, and a fair ball down the first baseline, headed toward the corner as Chu plays the Karen. Machado in with a double.
He loves to hit the first pitch, and there's another one of those savage line drives that you were talking about. It looked like it was foul from here. I'm not sure Bill Welke saw that one.
I'm not either, but I'm not sure that's a reviewable play if the ball didn't bounce behind it.
I don't think it did. I thought it was a line drive, wasn't it?
Well, I know if the ball doesn't bounce behind Bill Welke, you can't review it.
I thought it was past first base.
No, it's past the umpire. It has to be past the umpire.
I guess it didn't then.
You and Jeff Bannister sitting down there. Shot down there. Yeah, it hit right at his feet.
Chuck, looked like it did.
Yeah.
I thought it was foul. It wasn't. Good call, Bill.
No, Machado with a leadoff double. Nolan Reimold takes ball 1.
And Machado can lay out some line drive. There's an example, foul line to foul line, too.
Reimold has walked in 3 plate appearances. 0 for 2 officially. Kellett. A little bit low. He falls behind now. 2 balls, no strikes. Keone in the 2 outings on the 23rd and the 25th at home against Oakland gave up 2 runs in each game on 2 hits each time. A total of 1 inning worked split between those 2 games. This is high and tight. box tracker showing you the upper part of the strike zone, not called as closely as the lower part by John Hirschbeck. It's right down the middle, 3-1. Leone, the 22-year-old, grew up in the Seattle area. Leaves a big sigh, is set, and the 3-1 pitch coming. 3-2. Nothing fancy about that. Good. Build high fastball with some giddy up on it. Payoff pitch on the way.
Same pitch, just got a piece of it.
Leone had been doing such a great job of getting ahead of hitters with an off-speed pitch occasionally, but pitching from ahead. And that kind of deserted him the last couple of times out. There's a broken bat.
How about that sound? Do you like that sound?
I like that sound. That's great. Rugnet takes care of it, 1 away. Adam Jones coming up. Right now, let's send it back to Rick Winter for a Mazda game break. All right, Rick, thank you. Here it is 8-1 Rangers. We play in the bottom of the 7th. 1 on, 1 out. Adam Jones, who drove in the only Oriole run with a single in the 5th inning. Takes high and tight. 1 ball and no strikes. But Jones now with 37 runs driven in for the year. Team leader Chris Davis has 45. Manny Machado at 43. And then Adam Jones. Good off-speed pitch. There's the good, sharp breaking ball from Keone Keller. Watch the bottom drop out of this thing. One and 1 to Jones. Same pitch. That time Jones got a little bit of wood on it, but fouled it off. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Adam Jones this year not having the customary year with runners in scoring position, 254. The Orioles hitting .319 as a team with runners in scoring position. That's the best in baseball. The Joe Walters Club cashing in opportunities right and left. And a lot of that damage has happened in this month of June. They have just gone completely crazy.
That's a stat that's probably unlikely to continue the next 3 months.
.319?
.319 with men in scoring
I would think it'd be pretty tough.
It's hard if you're, I don't know what they're hitting for a team, 250, 260, 262. It's hard to hit 60 points higher than your regular average in those situations for 6 months. You can get hot and do it for a while, but I don't think you can count on it consistently.
2-2 as Keller sets. Riding swinging. Corporan will check Machado back to second and throw out Adam Jones. So there's a strikeout for Keller. Goes 2-3 on the putout. 2 gone for Chris Davis.
That same overhand curveball, a little bit lower than the one before it. Bounced right in back of home plate, but got Jones to swing at it. Mentioned he's a free swinger. Doesn't take many walks.
Adam Jones' first look at Keone Keller was a memorable one for him.
That's a tough curveball to hit.
Yeah.
You haven't seen it before. Straight down like that and sharp.
Well, here's Chris Davis, who's 1 for 3. Well, starting him off with a changeup that went down and away. Chris had a 4th inning single. Other than that, has been called down on strikes and went down swinging. That was his last time up in the 5th inning. Good high fastball. The count evens at 1-1. Manny Machado out there at second. Opened the inning with an opposite field double. 2-1 the count. Gallo. The opposition hitting just .258 against him. He has dropped 5 decisions this year. He just fouls it off. Leone in positions early in the year, in the first 2.5 months, to have a lot of decisions. He's 4-5. Won his first 4. He's lost his last 5. I checked that. He lost his first one. 1-4 now, lost 4. And the count is now full to Davis. Well, if Davis reaches, Delman Young, the right fielder, would come up to bat here in the 7th inning. Leone studying the signs, and the young right-hander's ready. Now we're set. Payoff pitch on the way. Still 3-2. The Rangers have 8 runs on 13 hits tonight. This one of the bigger outputs for them offensively in the last month. Orioles 1 run on 9 hits. Call strike 3. Davis knew it. And Gallo back-to-back strikeouts to finish off the 7th inning. No runs a hit, 1 left. On to the 8th. 8-1 Rangers. Colby Lewis on the hill for the Rangers. Miguel Gonzalez will take the mound for the Orioles. Gonzalez at 6-4 in 13 starts. Colby Lewis 7-3 in 15 starts. 4.10 ERA for the veteran right-hander. Rangers come to bat here in the top of the 8th. It'll be Leonis Martin leading off against Tommy Hunter. Hunter gave up 3 runs on 4 hits in the 7th inning. Leonis Martin, a base hit to left field his last time up. Nubs that one foul back to the backstop. It is 0-2. Leonis with the average now at 223 with that base hit. He's 2 for his last 24 times at the plate, however. In the air to shallow left center field. Hardy going out, looking at the call for the fair catch. That is out number 1. Bill Leonis pops out. Next will be Carlos Corporan. Tommy Hunter gave up 3 singles to Chu, Fielder, and Beltre in succession. They've got a big strikeout of Mitch Moreland with the bases loaded before Joey Gallo unloaded him with a triple. That really gave the Rangers some breathing room. Corporan takes a strike. Carlos 1 for 2 tonight. A solo home run back in the 3rd inning. This makes the 8th straight ball game now. The Rangers have had at least 7 hits. Tonight they're at 13 and counting. Ball club offensively had really run into a lull, hitting less than 240 over the last 24 ball games, virtually the entire month of June. 1 ball, 2 strikes. And in fact, if you go back to the last half of June, since the 14th, they've averaged less than 3 runs per game. And that all is changing tonight. And hopefully this is the start of a streak where they are able to score more runs.
Well, hopefully it's the start of Chu getting hot, and that'll go a long way towards scoring more runs. Yeah. Both he and Odor. Odor had 3 hits last night. He's had a couple of hits tonight. Chu swung the bat great tonight, and that's where it starts at the top of the lineup. If Odor continues to lead off, Chu hits second, and they can get hot, get on base. Just makes it that much easier for Fielder, Beltre. Hamilton gets here, Mitch. A lot more opportunities.
Yep. And the further out you can stretch that lineup, the better off you are with guys that are swinging the bat well. Hunter set for the 2-2 pitch. Carlos Corporan now has extended his hitting streak to 3 consecutive ball games. This pop foul will be back into the seats. Still 2 balls, 2 strikes. And once the 7th inning concluded, a lot of folks here in this crowd that initially was better than 21,000 have decided that the night was not quite as young as it once was. Carlos down on strikes. That is punch out number 2 for Tommy Hunter. 2 gone. Rougned Odor coming up. Well, folks, Oklahoma State University Day is Friday, July 10th. And the University Day ticket includes exciting Rangers baseball and a Texas Rangers cap in your school's colors. The first 1,000 fans at the ballpark who purchase an OSU University Day ticket receive a special OSU-themed Rangers cap. Just visit TexasRangers.com/UDays to get your tickets and to see a lineup of all University Days this season. Odor 2 for 4 tonight. A pair of singles. It's the breaking ball from Tommy Hunter that hangs high. It's 2 balls and no strikes. We've had 2 out of 4 tonight and hitting at .227. Ball 3. Well, if Odor keeps his 8th inning alive, then we have the hot Ranger right fielder, Shin-Soo Choo, to face Tommy Hunter. Tommy Hunter about ready to throw his 35th pitch. And he misses high for ball 4. Here's the first walk that he has issued. Odor on for the 3rd time tonight. And it will bring up Chu, who is 3 for 4. Chu, a pair of singles and a solo blast to deepest right center field. His 9th home run of the year. That broke a 22-game homerless drought. And he hits this one deep to left field. Going back is Reimold at the wall, reaches up and pulls it out of the first row. Nolan Reimold taking what would have been a 2nd home run away from Shin-Soo Choo. And that will end the 8th inning for the Rangers. Reimold going up over the top of the wall. Bottom of the 8th coming up. It's still 8-1 Rangers.
Lead and is now on the verge of evening this 7-game road trip at 2 wins and 2 losses. If they are able to hold on to this one and do just that, then tomorrow night they'll be looking to make it 3-2 on the road trip. Mitch Moreland, white hot right now with the 4 home runs in the last 5 games against Manny Machado and the rest of the Baltimore Orioles. AT&T Uverse reminds you to check this one out at 6 o'clock. In fact, why don't you tune in for Rangers Live tomorrow at 5:30, guys? We can get it back up to you.
All right, John, thank you. Now, Tanner Scheppers now has come out of the Ranger bullpen to take over here in the 8th inning. The first pitch that he fires in for strike 1 to Delmon Young. Scheppers coming out of the bullpen, the 3rd Ranger reliever here tonight in support of Wandy Rodriguez. Spencer Patton came on and worked a perfect 6th inning after Wandy had walked the leadoff man. Patton retired the next 3. Keone Kela came on and gave up a hit in an inning, but no run damage, a couple of strikeouts. Now Tanner Scheppers. He is up there facing Delmon Young with the count of 2 balls and 1 strike. Now 2-2.
Tanner had a good inning the other day in Toronto. Probably one of the best innings he's had this year. Good fastball, hard breaking ball, a lot of strikes. That's another thing the Rangers need going forward is for Tanner to be sharp like he's capable of doing, be that 8th inning guy.
Yep. 2 strikeouts, the three hitters that he faced there. He hasn't been scored on now in the last 4 outings. He's only given up 1 hit in 4 in the 3rd innings. 2-2 pitch. And Young hits it down deep into the corner in left field. It is foul. Young reaching out and pulling at that off-speed pitch that was down and away. Just put a little too much hook on it. Ball didn't quite get down and away, did it?
Nope.
Oh, no damage done. Still 2-2. Tried the fastball and missed for that. 97 on the gun. No, full count. Delman Young leading off the 8th inning. He'll be followed by the shortstop, J.J. Hardy. Shepard's the payoff pitch. Got him swinging.
Got him with a slider. Not too many hitters going to be ready for that pitch in that location. 97-mile-an-hour fastball before it, and a well-located slider. As long as he swings at it, a little bit out in front of it.
No, 1 gone. Here's J.J. Hardy. Curveball from Tanner Shepard. You don't see him feature that pitch very often. Hardy, 1 for 2 tonight officially. He's been on base twice with a single and a walk. 2-0 the count. With that strikeout, the Rangers pitchers have 11 punch-outs tonight. Juan Rodriguez had 7. Spencer Patton had 1. Keone Kela 2. And Tanner Shepard's 1. Hardy waiting for the 2-1 pitch. That'll even things up. Tanner, the 28-year-old out of Mission Viejo, California. Living, of course, in the Metroplex full-time. This is low, and the count is full. Back-to-back hitters that Shepard has gone to a 3-2 count. Back into the seats over the Oriole dugout. J.J. Hardy stepping back in, a .249 average. Shepard's to the wind, another 3-2 pitch. Lost him. Hardy with the second walk issued tonight to him. And at first base, with one away, Steve Pearce will come to the plate.
Hardy's had a couple of walks in his last 2 at-bats. On the season, he'd been up 167 times. He only walked 5 times all year. He's walked in his last 2 at-bats.
Yeah, the Orioles really don't have a lot of guys that work the count.
It doesn't look like it.
Yeah. Have to get up there and swing the bats. Team on base percentage is .317, and that's 8th in the league. And for a team that's hitting .262, I figured it would be a little bit higher. They're 4th in average as a team. 1-0 pitch to Pearce. Tanner drops in the breaking ball. Shepard's spent about 3.5 weeks down at AAA refining his mechanics after a pretty rough start to the season. Up the middle, nice glove by Odor, the throw in time. There is a highlight reel double play for you.
I'll say.
4.63 doesn't do that any kind of justice. What a play by Odor and Elvis to end the inning. Well, the Orioles are gone. We'll head to the 9th inning here in Baltimore. Rangers leading 8-1.
Nice pickup, a delicate little flip. A toss on the run and a great stretch. That's as high as Mitch could go to get that one. That was great all the way around.
Get the toenail on the bag. Boy, what a play. So a great double play ends that inning, and it sends the Rangers to bat here in the 9th inning. Brian Mattis, left-hander out of the bullpen, the only left-hander other than the closer, Zach Britton, down there. And Mattis getting a little work here against the Rangers in the 9th inning. 24th ball game for Mattis, a 2.55 ERA, just a 2.09 opponent's average against him. Mattis, of course, a one-time starter, a highly prized starter for the Orioles. They switched him to the bullpen, and he has flourished down there. There's a bunch of defensive changes for the Orioles. We'll catch you up on those here momentarily. 2-0, the count to Prince Fielder, who is 1 for 4 tonight. And he hammers one to deep right field. Young is back at the wall and makes the catch. Right up against the padding under the out-of-town scoreboard. And Fielder must not have gotten the best part of the bat on that one.
No, I don't think he did. Didn't sound like he got all of it. The Rangers have launched 4 of them. They've come close a couple of other times, too. See if we can see in slow motion where he hit it. Been a little bit toward the end of the bat, it looked like.
It looked like
slightly ahead of it.
Well, that is out number 1, and Adrian Beltre, who is 2 for 4 tonight, now will face Mattis. And he pops one foul back into the seats. It is 0-1. Beltre last time up hit a towering fly ball off the wall down the right field line. Ended up going for a single with Chu and Fielder aboard. He could only advance 90 feet as it looked like Delman Young might be able to make a play on the ball. Adrian came in to score, though. He has scored 2 runs tonight. Mattis back to him. And that's poked down the right field line. It is a fair ball headed toward the corner. Beltre, going into second, is in standing with his 3rd hit of the night. A 1-out double here in the 9th inning.
Well, as Adrian works his way back into baseball shape and his hand gets a little bit better, there's one other guy that could be heating up, and that would obviously be great for the Rangers when the middle of the lineup starts getting hot as well. 3 hits tonight. Nice step in that direction.
Well, Beltre now in scoring position. Here's Mitch Moreland for his 5th at bat. Moreland 2 for 4, a pair of home runs, 3 RBI tonight. And Mattis drops the off-speed pitch in for strike 1. Moreland a solo home run in the 2nd, got the Rangers on the scoreboard for the first time. Then in the 4th, a 2-run blast out in the deepest right center field. This one popped up and will slice back into the crowd. The new 3rd baseman, Jimmy Paredes, over to take a look. And a power surge for Mitch. How about his last 5 ball games? 8 for 21 with 4 home runs and 6 RBI. He is now tied with Prince Fielder for the team leadership with a dozen home runs. Of course, Mitch playing in just about 2/3 of the games. This for Mitch is 57th game of the year. Swinging strike, and he is gone. Oh, Mattis with the strikeout. 2 gone. Joey Gallo coming up. Let's head back to the studio and check in with Rick Renner for a preview of Rangers Live. All right, Rick, thank you. Joey Gallo is 1 for 4 with 3 strikeouts, but he did put the 1 ball in play, and it was a rope into right field, a 3-run triple, bases loaded triple in the 7th inning. Facing a tough left-hander here in Brian Mattis, and he's down in the count 0-2. Mattis, when he first came up with the Orioles, won 5 ball games in 7 decisions in 2009 as a starter. Next year, he won 10 ball games starting full-time, and never was able to repeat that success. And he gets Gallo here on strikes. That'll end things. A 1-out double by Beltre goes for naught as he's left stranded. We'll go to the bottom of the 9th. Rangers leading 8-1. Sports Southwest is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. By AT&T UVerse TV. UVerse has more live TV channels on the go than cable. And by your Texas Ford dealers. Visit your Texas Ford dealer now for great deals on America's best-selling brand. Ford is the best in Texas. Now the bottom of the 9th has arrived here at Orioles Park at Camden Yards. We head to the bottom of the Orioles order. Ryan Flaherty to start things off. A new pitcher on the hill for the Rangers. It will be Sam Freeman, the 4th member of the Ranger bullpen, to work here tonight. Freeman appearing in his 20th ball game of the year. Sam with no record, of .568 earned run average, but he has been tuning things up pretty nicely. He was scored upon his last outing against Oakland, but prior to that, he worked 4 consecutive scoreless outings. On here to face Ryan Flaherty to start things off. First pitch is ball 1. Flaherty tonight 0 for 3, a couple of fly balls and a strikeout. Flaherty facing the 27-year-old left-hander Sam Freeman. Even high school in Carrollton. 1-1. Sam did not work in the Toronto series, but he appeared in all 3 games against Oakland. Good off-speed pitch. 1-2 the count.
Yes, Sam's got the pitches to be a very, very effective late inning bullpen guy. It's just a matter of refining the command of his pitches because they're all there. He's got the velocity, he's got the hard breaking ball, and it's a good example of it.
And he's got the call on that hook. Flaherty didn't think so, but
a pretty good idea where this is. Yep, right down there. That has not been a popular spot tonight for the hitter, but the pitcher's taken advantage of it all night long and John Hirschbeck has called it most of the night.
It has been a consistent low outside corner. Yeah, Caleb Joseph, the catcher, who is 2 for 3, fouls off that first pitch.
It's definitely the kind of strike zone that's there for either pitcher. Any pitcher that's in the game's got that pitch if he throws it there. I think the Rangers have taken advantage of it maybe a little bit better than the Orioles, but you know, the Orioles really don't have a gripe because it's not like it's being called against them and not being called against the Rangers. That's there for everybody. Whether you like it or not, that's what the hitters have to deal with tonight. And that's what we're talking about with Sam.
Yep, Sam Freeman gets his second straight strikeout. This is the swinging variety. So there are 2 gone here in the 9th inning. Freeman back-to-back strikeouts, and now he's going to face David Lowe, who came into the game defensively in the top of the 9th inning. So Lowe is going to get the at-bat in Manny Machado's spot. The left-handed hitting Lowe takes outside for ball 1. Lowe at 204, 4 home runs and 12 driven in. Speedy outfielder. Part of a semi-platoon that Buck Showalter will use. Kind of interchangeable parts for the Orioles, and always changing interchangeable parts too, it seems. They play one of the few teams in the American League anyway that plays with a 5-man bench. They go with 6 men in the bullpen. At least right now. That could change tomorrow. Jeff Bannister and the Rangers and most of the clubs have a 7-man bullpen, sometimes 8. 1-2 pitch to Lowe. Got him swinging.
That's pretty solid inning.
Comes in and strikes out the side in order to really slam the door on the Orioles. And the Rangers turn this into a winner, 8-1. Mitch Moreland a couple of home runs. Shin-Soo Choo a home run. Carlos Corporan a home run. And Joey Gallo a huge 3-run triple to give the Rangers the final margin of victory, 8-1 tonight. The Rangers 8 runs on 14 hits. They got the offense in high gear here tonight, not only translating good swings into base hits, but also translating the hits into some runs tonight. Rangers, as you mentioned, just averaging less than 3 runs a game in the last half of the month of June, and they put that by the wayside tonight, scoring 1 in the second, 1 in the third.